Hey guys, what's up? It's Kev for the winner. Back for another edition Diablo 3. Season 27 has begun. We're going to be taking a look at the Tal Rasha set armor. So let's get into it. Meteor of Twilight. But first off, we want to look at the Tal Rasha set armor as it is. It actually got a rework to the 2-piece and the 4-piece bonus, which actually makes it a Meteor build. So here it is. Damage enemies with Arcane, Cold, Fire, Lightning will grant immunity to that element and cause a Meteor of the same damage type from the sky. This only occurs if the wizard has the Meteor rune equipped. 4-piece bonus, Arcane, Cold, Fire, and Lightning attacks each increase all your resistances by 100% for 8 seconds. Attacking with Meteor reduces the cooldown of teleport by 1 second. And the 6-piece bonus says that attacks increase your damage by 2,000% for 8 seconds. Arcane, Cold, Fire, Lightning stacks each add a 1 stack. So basically, every time you attack with an elemental attack, you add 8 stacks, and you get 2,000% increased damage overall for a certain amount of time period. So the Tal Rasha set is interesting in the sense that it got a rework, so now it works with meteors. We're also going to be using quite a few things. As you see here, we're not using a full piece of Tal Rasha. What we're going to be using here in the helm is Meteor of Twilight, because Meteor Shower Rune is now applied, and you cast meteors and deal damage to 385% increased damage. So you get the Meteor Shower Rune whenever you use your meteors, which is very powerful. So you want a Meteor of Twilight. Then mostly you're going to be using Tal Rasha armor, but you're also going to be using the golds in the shoulder and the bracer area. So basically reduce damage taken by 15%, increased damage dealt by 30%, 3-piece bonus, minus 30 damage from elite monsters, plus 30% damage to elite monsters. So you want to run the shoulders and the bracers there. As for the rest of it, you're going to see here the boots, you want Nilfer's Boost. This basically increases the damage of Meteor by 600%. When Meteor hits 3 or fewer enemies, the damage is increased by 876%. That's all the way you can get that to 900% with a perfect roll. We're going to be using Halo of Canary to give us a little bit more toughness, as you can see here. Takes 78% less damage for 5 seconds after you cast Storm Armor, and it actually hits an enemy more than 15 yards away from you. Conventional elements for the ring. I'm not going to go into the skill there because it's a bit lengthy. For the necklace, you have to run Tal Rasha's Allegiance because we're not running full set here. For the weapon, you can use the Smoldering Core or the Grand Visor, whichever one that you have, or when you will cube. Basically, you want the best rolls here. Basically, lesser enemies are now lured to the meteor impact of the meteorites, and you do increased amount of damage. For the skills, Spectral Blade, Ice Blades is the way you want to go here. For Meteor, you want Comet. Some people like Start Impact. I personally feel that Comet is better to use as opposed to Start Impact because you'll be able to hit a lot more targets and you get AoE effect, but you use what you want. My recommendation, though, is Comet. Most good players are using that. For Teleport, Safe Passage. For Storm Armor, Shacking Aspect. Familiar, Spark Flint here. As for Black Hole, we want Spell Steal. All these skills will allow us to get all the bonuses from our armor. Passives, Illusionist, Elemental Exposure, Arcane Dynamo, and last but not least, we also are going to want Audacity here. For the Kanai's Cube, the Grand Visor, or the Smoldering Core, either or. Shame of Desiree you need in the other slot, and the Ring of Royal Grandeur since we're not using full set of Tal Rasha. That way we'll be able to get all the set piece bonuses that we require for this particular build. This is what my Paragon looks like. If you're playing Season 27, you probably don't have access for that. For the follower, Broken Crown, Flavor of Time, Nemesis Bracers, everything else is nice to have, but it's not absolutely necessary for you to do well. But Broken Crown, Flavor of Time, Nemesis Bracers are the free emanate skills I would recommend the most. Gold Skin is kind of useful, but not going to give you that much value. Gloves of Worship, again, same type of strategy. Really, though, Broken Crown, Nemesis Bracers, Flavor of Time is the way you want to go. For the purpose of this showcase, I'm going to show you how this performs on a Greater Rift 60 and a Greater Rift 80. That way I can show you Torment 13 difficulty, as well as a Torment 16 difficulty. Now, keep in mind, this is mostly now a Meteor build, so what we're going to be doing as we're going through the Greater Rift is we're going to be trying to maintain our 4 stacks of our Tal Rasha set armor. So in order to do that, we're going to have to class our Black Hole, our Storm Armor, our Familiar, and as well as cast our Ice attack, either the Ice Blades or the Ice Meteor. That way we'll get all 4 elements to constantly go off. Alright, so once we get into the gate, first thing we want to do is cast our Storm Armor. Then from there, I would recommend casting a Familiar. Then from there, if you have a lot of enemies, bunch them up with a black hole, and then start dropping your meteors. As you can see, your meteors are going to pull targets into them, kind of similar to the black hole itself, and you're going to be able to do a massive amount of damage. Now, keep in mind that for Season 27 of Diablo 3, for the Wizard, the starter set armor is, in fact, the Tal Rasha set armor. So if you're not familiar with how seasons in Diablo work, simply you have to complete your Chapter 2, 3, and 4 seasonal journeys. Upon each of those chapters, you will be given a Hadred's Gift. So, on completion of Chapter 2, you will get 2 pieces of the Tal Rasha set armor. Upon completion of Chapter 3, you'll get another 2 pieces, and then completion of Chapter 4 of your seasonal journey, you'll get the final 2 pieces, giving you the full 6 pieces. You're guaranteed a full set of your starter set armor for your class, which is for the Tal Rasha set armor. For the Wizard, what you are not guaranteed is Ancient Legendary or Primal Ancient Legendary. In order to get Primal Ancient Legendary pieces to drop in season, you would have to clear a Greater Rift 70 solo, which not a lot of people are capable of doing without, like, having really good gear from the start. Subsequently from there, what is the stuff that you would need to optimize this armor? Well, stat-wise, obviously, everywhere in your armor you want the max roll of intelligence, because the Wizard relies on intelligence. Then from there, I would recommend on your helm, crit hit chance 6.0%, because you want to do a lot more damage to various targets. On your glove, I would recommend these 3 stats: crit hit chance 6.0%, crit hit damage 50%, and at least an attack speed of 6.0%, but preferably you will want that as 8.0% as well. Further stats that you should be looking for on this armor is anywhere that you can increase the amount of damage that Meteor does to 15%. Definitely make sure to do that, as that's your main primary source of damage on this particular build. Subsequently, because Meteors and the Comet are AoE effects when they drop, my recommendation is anywhere that you can get 15% to even 25% area of effect damage, you should possibly put it in your armor. So now, since this is not an armor set that needs actually Captain Crimson and doesn't actually use it, you don't necessarily have to really rely heavily on getting cooldown reduction. However, if you want your black hole in particular to have a faster bit of cooldown, or your familiars, or your start armor, it might be in your benefit as well to get 8.0% cooldown reduction wherever possible. Resource cost reduction is always a great thing to have on your armor, just because it means that you use less arcane power. Okay, for the Rift Guardian simple, we're going to go black hole, make sure we maintain our 4 stacks, and then cast a meteor. Chances are the regular meteors are going to kill on the lower Rift Guardians fairly easier. On higher Rift Guardians, so you're just going to have to constantly hold in the meteor button until you stack a whole bunch of damage. Now, for legendary gem optimization, my recommendation for this particular build would be Bane of the Trap, Bane of the Stricken, and you can either, in the final slot, have a Goak of Swiftness if you want to get extra cooldown, or if you want to go a different route, you can go a Stoic Alteration. That way you can be a little bit more tanky, but either of those will work very well. You could also put a Taegook if you want into that final slot. The final slot is really a matter of your own personal preference. That was a Greater Rift 60, Tournament 13 difficulty, as you saw, 3-minute clear time there. This is going to be Tournament level 16, Greater Rift 80. As you can see, same strategy as before. We're going to use our Storm Armor, our Familiar, our Ice Blades, and our Black Hole to maintain the 4 stacks. Once we get the 4 stacks of that, we're just going to be going to town by casting Meteor after Meteor, teleporting around. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to the Tal Rasha set armor, this armor in particular does great at not really so much single targets as attacking multi-targets. So what you want to do is really position yourself where you can bunch up all the enemies together, and then basically you want to unload your meteors. Case in point here, since we're right at the front of the exit gate, we're going to cast our meteor. Now, the one drawback to using the Comet rune in particular as opposed to Star Impact is the fact that there's so many ice meteors dropping on the ground that it's very hard to be able to see the orbs that drop from Greater Rifts, as well as being able to see a lot of loot. So, although it looks visually pleasing and everything sort, it is going to be kind of hard to find that loot. However, I personally feel like this performs better with the Comet Ruin and the higher tiers. In fact, I would say that the Comet Ruin build or the Tal Rasha Meteor build actually can perform somewhere into the upper 145 greater rift solo by itself. In fact, with proper optimization of your armor, you could probably even get close to a greater rift 150 clear time solo. In a group of 4 with S tier armors and everything sort, guaranteed that you'll be able to clear a greater rift 50 with general ease. Now, in terms of further optimization, what would you be wanting me to do if you're a newer Diablo 3 player? Well, first off, you want every piece of your gear at least Ancient Legendary or Primal Ancient Legendary, or the gold borders around gear that you see. Primal Ancient Legendaries are red borders. In order to get Primal Ancient Legendary to drop in Season, like I said before, you have to clear Greater Rift 70 solo. If you're playing non-seasonal, any non-seasonal character that has already cleared a Greater Rift 70 solo will allow all characters that are non-seasonal characters to have access to Primal Ancient Legendaries dropping. Keep in mind, it's less than a 2% chance that you'll get a Primal Ancient Legendary to drop, and it's not guaranteed that you're going to get something that you want to drop, although there are ways to kind of manipulate that by re-rolling or reforging legendaries, and that way you increase the chances of getting an Ancient Legendary and subsequently a Primal Ancient Legendary. It's going to take you a lot of time, so don't really worry so much about that. Try to just focus on getting your Ancient Legendary gear pieces, which is the gold board. From there, after you have all your pieces of gear Ancient Legendary or better, what you're going to want to do is augment Legendary Gems. So primarily what you want are your Legendary Gems to be at least level 80 in value, and you put them into the Kanai's Cube recipe to augment it. Fortunately, because now Echoing Nightmare is now part of the regular game, and it's not just a seasonal thing from previous season, if you do a Echoing Nightmare, it's very easy to get your Legendary Gems up to even level 100 to 120, even just soloing it. So I would recommend doing a lot of Greater Rifts and grinding and looking for Echoing Nightmares, Putrid Essences to drop so that you can actually put them in the Ice Cube and get an Echoing Nightmare, and then use those gems for your augmentation. That's in fact what I did with my Tal Rasha set armor to get super fast and get them high up, and then obviously augment all pieces of your armor with Legendary Gems. As you saw with the Great Guardian, it was very simple. All we did was cast a Black Hole while maintaining our 4 stacks of the elements with our Tal Rasha to get the 6-piece bonus, and then we just unload with Meteors. This is a very, very powerful build. This is in fact a S tier armor for this season. I would say this is probably one of the best armors that you could potentially use. It is in the S tier. The only 2 other armors I think that can perform even maybe somewhat better than this, but maybe on an equal footing, would have to be the Rothmon, which is the Army of Dead build, as well as, ironically, the Tragul's Avatar, which we'll be talking about in the next installment, which went from F tier to S tier. There's a lot of exciting stuff that's changed now with Diablo Season 27. That was Greater Rift 80. As you see here, 3 minutes and 25-second clear time, and Greater Rift 100 and higher. If you have full optimization, you're going to get 5-minute clear times. And that's pretty much there is to the Tal Rasha set armor. Anyway, that's going to do it for today's Diablo 3 video. As always, a like on this video is greatly appreciated. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, definitely consider doing so, as it helps the channel grow. And I'll see you for the next Diablo 3 video. Until next time, guys.